Brother Robert Hornsby.
Thank you. Kind words there. I'd like to bring one of my family members on. His name is Michael Stanstall. He's going to watch our camera here. I want to be very honest here. Let me begin by thanking Shabazz and Kevin and so many others that helped bring about the circumstances that allowed me to come to Atlanta. It was odd because the original path that we had chosen, the powers that be work in mysterious ways, because the night before we left, 20-some-odd inches of snow dumped on the highway all the way across northern Arizona and New Mexico, and we were effectively stopped. So we had to come a different route via the Twilight Zone, I believe. Probably know it as Texas. And I had, in talking with Kevin, and talking with Shaka, and talking with my family, what are we going to do here? I mean, I really look at this as an opportunity. This is the first time I have had a chance to not only visit Atlanta, but to spend some time in it. You have no idea how many times I've flown in and out of Atlanta, but never outside of the airport. So I thought, okay, tell you what, let's do. Let's go ahead, we'll get the big screen TV, we'll get the videos, we'll get the cameras, I'll put on the dance presentation, I'll bring the regalia, let's really give them a warrior presentation. Which I will do, but not now, for this reason. I have only had an opportunity to hear very brief snippets, just these little sound bites from the various speakers, and it's excellent. So as we're getting set up, I said, no, I'm going to use an old Hopi term here, and I'll use it frequently, but I want you to understand the term. The Hopi term is screw it. And it means, let's think about this. So I wanted tonight to talk to you about shamanism, what it really is in Native America, what it really means. It is not what is being sold by the pseudo wannabe Native Americans who actually are from New York and their heritage is either Celtic or Arabic or something else. You have no idea how many wannabes there are out there. So I want to start from scratch. I want to use this first hour, and I want to build up, let me tell you what's going on in my head as we build up for a presentation as a warrior, for a presentation as a shaman, and for a presentation to potential renegades. So, let me begin in this fashion. In the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to give you some brief, just introductory information. Then I'm going to get full dress. The outfit that you're going to see at just after 7 o'clock weighs 35 pounds. Now, backtrack for a moment here, and let me explain something to you about me. I was born the son of a man who was descended from the storytellers in the Hopi tradition. I am the son of a man who is descended from the dreamers and the dancers in the Apache Society. I should have been raised as a shaman, warrior, dancer, storyteller. Now, storytellers are not individuals in the Hopi world who simply relay a legend or tell a story. In fact, the storytellers are the interpreters of prophecy. They're the ones that go to the prophecy stones. It is their task to travel the world, to go to the sites of the ancient ones, to look for the signs, and then make things happen. So, had I stayed on the reservation, either one, I would have been either a storyteller prophet or I would have been a warrior dancer. But I found something else. When you accept a title, when you accept a position, it is a place of power and responsibility. I am therefore, as a storyteller, required to act in a certain fashion. I am not permitted to address the prophecies of any non-native, non-related peoples. If I am an Apache dreamer, I am not permitted to work with dreamers from any other society anywhere else in the world. So my, what happened? Mine was these red, green, and blue lights here. It's like, I'm tripping. Wow, this is like buttons, man. I lost my train of thought there. Okay. I am not permitted to address any other people's ways. So the Hopi and me stood up, and the Apache angrily said, screw it. Yeah, Hopi word, screw it. So I denied my position. I walked away. No, I will not become a Hopi storyteller. I will not become an Apache dreamer. That prohibits me from being here in Atlanta today. It prohibits me from going to Egypt, to Australia, to be with the Aborigine brothers down here. So I said no to Native American elders. Now, you know that within your own family, within your own group, you've got, and this is an Apache term, you've got people in your family, your group, your society that aren't quite all there. They don't get it. In Apache, we call them buttheads. So, I'm also quite sacrilegious. So, I said, no. I will not be prohibited from going to Australia, New Zealand, to Mexico, Canada, Europe, Africa. I will not do this. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't say this. I can. I am a full-blood Native American. I am Hopi, I am Apache, I am proud. I have participated in ceremonies, dances, rituals. I have fulfilled everything I am supposed to do as a Native American Hopi, as a Native American Apache. But you know what? Now remember, you can't say this. I know that some of the biggest buttheads on this planet are Native Americans. Because they will not permit the crossing of boundaries. I have had an elder walk up to me and say, you cannot share it with anyone who is not Hopi because they will not understand. I have had a storyteller who is Apache tell me, you cannot share this with anyone who is not Apache because they will not understand. Then we go to some public institution, an event, and we hear non-Native Americans say, nah, he's Indian, he's never going to get it. Nah, he's Indian, he's going to be drunk, he's going to be lazy, he's never going to have a job. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no difference between a Native American elder who says he's not Apache, he's not Hopi, he's not going to get it, and then we go into the outside world and somebody who's not Native says, he's Apache, he's Hopi, he's never going to get it. That's prejudice, period. I will not limit my existence to the boundaries of Apache and Hopi. I had the great honor of speaking with Shabazz on a program, I guess about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And as you very briefly heard on my resume, I'm very proud. My resume reads 3 pages long. Ladies and gentlemen, I have done documentaries for PBS. In fact, the only one that I lost was because the producer said after the interview he wanted me to read a script on the Apache Wars. He said, "You don't sound Apache." I said, "What does Apache sound like?" He said, "Well, you're too," finally broke down after a few minutes of searching for the right word, "you're too well-spoken." So they got another speaker. Actually, he's a friend of mine, because I went back and I told him. I said, "You know what they want? Ugh. Me, Apache, proud warrior." And he got the damn job. Oh, can I say damn that now? Excuse me. He got the job because him speak Apache. Well, I did Wrangler jeans. There's a scene, this campfire opens up, and Robert's supposed to come in his regalia, and I jump in front of the campfire, and I start doing my moves, and the end scene in Wrangler, I make a spin, I turn, the skirt parts, my bustles fly open, and on my butt cheek, Wranglers. Santa Fe, Chile, Swiss Airlines, British Airlines, documentaries. I was on television. Whoa, I did Nickelodeon. Hey Dude, The Young Riders. I had the opportunity to sit with Liz Taylor at her birthday and look at them purple eyes, the most incredible eyes I've ever seen in my life. I was interviewed by Barbara Walters. Wawa, remember Barbara Wawa? I met these people, and I'm very proud to say that in recorded history, meaning the last approximately 6,000 years, nobody has ever climbed to the top of the Great Pyramid and performed an honoring dance for the ancient ones. It took me 2 years. You have no idea how much garbage we went through. I had a protest from a Native American group, a United Nations group. We had some politics like you wouldn't believe, but ladies and gentlemen, I got up there because I refused to be Apache Hopi. I refused to be a representative of the United States. I refused to be anybody. I would not identify myself with any group, so no group could protest. How do you get equal representation if he's not representing anybody? So, I had the opportunity, later we'll have a chance, I hope, to show you pictures. For the first time in recorded history, a nobody climbed to the top of the Great Pyramid in 35 pounds of regalia, and on the morning of May 10th, 1999, I danced to honor the ancient ones on a block. The tallest block in the Great Pyramid at the very top is approximately 3 by 3, a little bit larger than this monitor here. The sides are 52 degrees, 51 degrees, excuse me, and they shoot straight down. I felt like I was dancing on the head of a pin in the clouds. For the first time in history, someone danced on the Great Pyramid, and it was a nobody. So, Shabazz, where'd he go? When I did the interview with him, and as I do radio interviews, I always tell everybody, look, you know what? I'm proud of who I am, but I am a nobody. I'm a nobody, and I'm proud of it. I have no credentials I want to claim. I am not going to base my presence on a resume. I am here because I'm a nobody. And I hear people going, oh, no, that's such a bad thing. You're a nobody. You shouldn't say that. You're a somebody. Fight for who you are. No, wrong. Let me tell you something. If you look in the dictionary, which is one of my favorite books in the whole world, a nobody is defined as someone who has no societal value. What that means is society judges who you are if you're somebody. Society says you're good, you're bad, you're powerful, you're successful, you're a failure, you're this, you're that. Not me. I'm a nobody. I have no societal value. I will not depend on society, any society, Hopi, Apache, Native American, American, Russian, Communist, I don't care what the group is. No society assigns me value. Why? I'm nobody. and I'm proud of it. So, now we backtrack. Who's the only person, the only people that could climb to the top of the Great Pyramid in 6,000 years and dance on that sucker? Nobody. Who is going to make a difference in the politics on this planet in the sad shape that it's in? Nobody. Who's going to make a difference in our achievements politically, socially, scientifically, or just within ourselves? Nobody. Now, people going, oh, that's bad. You can't say that. Nobody's going to make a change? Yeah? Nobody's going to make a difference? Yeah? Who cares what goes on with Bill Clinton? Nobody. Who cares what goes on behind the scenes in Atlanta, Georgia government? Nobody. So, I wear the title with pride. I am a nobody. I have a resume that is lengthy, but I will tell you something. It's the nobodies of this world that have made a difference. It's a scientist who was sitting there and all the elders in the scientific I'm moving. Nobody in the scientific community is comprised of some elders who have some rules. There's certain things that you can do, and nobody breaks the rules. So they asked Albert Einstein, how did you come up with the theory of relativity? I ignored the laws of physics. How do our scientists make these advances? They ignore the rules of the scientists. How are political changes made? Because some woman somewhere ignored the sign that said, you can't take a drink of water here. Who ignores those signs? Who breaks the law? Nobody. So I can proudly say, when the institutions, the newspapers, the conservative media come up and they say, who was the guy that went to the observatory and actually took possession of that telescope and poked his eyes up into the sky and then announced that there really was a satellite up there and there should have been? And I can honestly say, nobody. Who's the guy that happened to find the front door of that office at the university and had all those documents that proved the dean was corrupt? Who was the one that turned those in? Nobody. So, I'm sorry, let me not belabor the point. I am nobody, and I am proud. It does not mean I have not achieved. It simply means I won't permit a society, any society, to give me value and say you are successful or a failure. I am nobody. Look it up in the dictionary. You'll find that it's a quite proud position to assume when society doesn't decide for you what your values are. So, I am a renegade, Kahopi. I will not do what the Apache elders tell me I should do. I will do what the Apache ancestors say I should do, what the Hopi ancestors say I should do, but not the elders. When I go to powwows, for a long time, I competed on the circuit. We actually have a powwow competition circuit. Dancers like cowboys going to a rodeo will go every weekend to a different city in an attempt to go and compete in the hope that they can get prize money. Back when I was a boy in the day of the dinosaurs, we would get a feather, we would get a sack of flour. Nowadays, you go and compete, and a good dancer who takes first place in this category can walk away with $1,000. There are a few purses now that are as much as $5,000 for competition. The problem is that a lot of the new dancers, a lot of the youngsters, are performing for the money. They're dancing for the show. They are not dancing for the right reasons. Now, in a moment, in this next segment, I'm going to dance for you. I'm going to do a few dances here, but let me show you something here. When I dance according to spirit tradition, I do not dance for you. I do not dance technically for anyone. When I go to a powwow and I enter the circle and I'm down on one knee and I look out, I am not dancing for you. I'm dancing for my grandfather and for my ancestors. This evening, as we speak, I see you in chairs, but I know that in what looked like empty seats, my grandfather, and his grandfather, and his, and so are yours. The ancestors who walked up the trails, as I understand, 75 was a trail of elders. Some natives used to use it as a highway. For those ancestors who were here in Atlanta long before the civilized people, they're here, and we dance for you. Let them know. We dance for you. We are here for you because we want to be what you gave us, warriors. With a mind and with a heart that is not colored, it is not tainted, directed by society. The word civilized, look it up in the dictionary. It means twisted, changed, perverted, tainted. The word primitive means pristine in its original state. So, you know what? I like primitive. I like the word savage. A savage is a primitive possessed of fire. He don't care what civilized world says he should do. So, later on at the beginning of the dance, I will take a moment. You'll see it. I will not acknowledge you, but you will understand. I dance for my grandfather and for our ancestors who are here today and who are going to be here through this weekend. Because I'm going to tell you something. If I fail, it's because I did not honor them. If you get upset at me, I can live with that. But if the ancestors get upset with me, all right now. You got it. I'm in deep poop. So, for a lifetime, and finally last year, I went to the top of the Great Pyramid and I danced to honor the ancient ones. And there were natives who said you should be dancing for the Hopi ancestors and for the Apache, and you should do it for the Apache cause, because when you come down, you'll be a speaker for the Apache community and the Hopi community, and you can do it for America, and you have cemented the relationship with... Screw it. Well, no. If I dance for anybody, it's for the nobodies. It's for the guy that walked up to me on the street a little while ago, and he says, you know, man, I've been reading the books, and I'm learning stuff, you know, but it's not stuff I had in school, you know. Yeah, you're right. I'm going to dance on the top of the Great Pyramid, because they're not going to let you go. I'm going to dance up there, my granddad and your granddad, because we're nobodies. But we got no clout, no political clout. Yeah, right. Thank you, grandfather. And to the ancestors that you bring with you, and to those of you who were here before us, we dance to honor you. We are proud of what you have given us and will not allow another people to take it from us. We are once and for all warriors. No man speaks for another. I trust your heart as I hope you trust mine. I honor the blood that courses in my veins, not the diplomas on my wall. Therefore, We are here this weekend because of the foresight, the strength, and the courage of Mr. Jackson, Sirius Books, the organizers, Shabazz, all of you, the crew who helped put this together. I thank you. But we're dancing for our grandfathers, and as you will find in the second and third segments tonight, we dance in particular for our grandmothers. This outfit, how much time have I got? I want to take a break every 15 minutes. Give you, I'm sorry?
20 minutes to 7.
20 minutes to 7. Okay, we'll go for about 10 more minutes, and I'm going to come out, we're going to do some dancing. I'm going to show you about shamanism, but it is not what you're being told. When you go, apologies to Kevin, because I know you've got a bookstore, but I know some of the books I picked up, that's not shamanism. Let me tell you what shamanism really is. First, no, it's a good book. I like to read. I've had the opportunity to go on the UFO New Age circuit, and I've met a lot of the speakers that are out there. Spooky Coyote, Mr. Pig Country, what's his name, Whitley Strobelight, and I've met all these. I'm sure I've had a chance to talk to them. Okay, and some of them are as bright as a sack of hair. I'm sure they return the compliment. I just told myself a joke I can't take. All right. This is the basic outfit for a warrior. Be he a dancer, storyteller, etc. Everything that I am wearing has to be made at home. My family and I do all our own beadwork. We construct and stitch all of our clothing. You can't go in and buy off the rack. There is no Indians are us anywhere in the country. So I gotta go and buy off the rack. The moccasins are handmade. Can you get down on the moccasins here? The moccasins are handmade, they're stitched. Now, I gotta tell you, I do cheat when the opportunity provides itself, especially if I'm gonna dance on a slippery floor, because on the back of my moccasins, I got these little studs that we worked in. That allows me to get some traction so I don't fall and break my nobody's butt. The moccasins are covered by leggings. These leggings symbolize and represent the strength and the power of the bear. Native Americans across the country, even into Central America, if they use fur leggings, it invariably is a symbol of the bear. The bear gives us strength in our legs. The rest of our body may fail. We may have injuries. Maybe we lost the keys to the car and ran out of gas. It broke down. We missed the bus. The plane didn't arrive in time. For whatever reason, as long as there is strength in our legs, we can always arrive at our destination. So leggings represent the strength and the power of a bear. We then have what is called a skirt. No, I'm not going to show you what's underneath. There are two questions that I'm asked. I do a lot of public schools, and the kids will come up and the two questions they always ask. The first, and actually adults do this too. What would you guess would be the most commonly asked question of a Native American when I go and lecture? There's one question they always ask. Can you make it rain? True story, that's question one. Question two, what do you wear under your skirt? That one goes unanswered. This is a skirt. It is made with fringe. In this particular case, I'm wearing a vest. You ever wonder why Indians wear so much fringe? Practical. When they would skin an animal, a deer skin or whatever animal they used, elk, they would then use the remnants and cut long pieces of fringe and tie them to their shirts. If they are out on the hunt, if they find themselves in a difficult situation, they simply reached up, yanked a piece of fringe off, They could tie an arrowhead to a branch. They could make a trap. In other words, this is functional. It's not decorative. Most people don't know that. You take a look at a lot of the very, very old Native American portraits, and you're going to find that the fringe is missing because the Indians walk out and boing. In fact, very quickly, I know a few people are trickling in, so we'll let them sit down, but here's the story. My Apache granddad did this. And I have to tell you, in Arizona, there were Indians in 1925 and 1926 still up in the foothills shooting their arrows at the cavalry, at the trains, at the settlers coming in. I had a grand uncle who was still up in the hills who wouldn't go on the reservation. And he was still conducting a war, so it ain't that long that it's been going on in Arizona. So, my granddad was telling me that when he was a very young man, they were stringing the telephone wires across the territory. And of course, the telephone was a very, well, it was the sign of civilization. It was a symbol that we were being domesticated. And so, most Indians, he found, would go out there, they'd shimmy up the pole, and they'd cut the wire. And then they'd go riding off, and of course now the cavalry and some technicians would come along, they'd find a broken wire, they'd shimmy up the pole, and they'd fix it. My grandfather came up with an idea. He shimmied up the pole, cut the wire. But before he let it drop, he pulled a piece of buckskin fringe off. He tied it to the wire, and then tied it to the pole. So when the cavalry and the technicians came walking by, they're following the wire, yep, no, it's not broken, not broke, still going across, and they rode miles off into the sunset. And then the next day you see them coming back, nope, no, it's not broken, there it goes, there it goes. The signal was gone, but the line hadn't fallen. Tell you something about Indians. They have a sense of humor. When it comes to civilized people, God, it just goes begging. It just goes begging. So, fringe is functional. So you can get a close-up here. This is part of a shoulder strap. It's called a drop. These are the symbols, the morning sky family. This first figure, the serpent, represents the Nawa, the dreaming time, the void, the beginning. In the Apache world, the universe before all things began was a big swirling mass, a serpent, the Nawa. The second figure represents 3 clouds. From these 3 clouds, first man was born. And the morning sky family traces its ancestry back to the first man that walked on this planet. So we're very proud. And in a minute, later on, I'm going to tell you who that first man was. I'll tell you where he came from. And I'm proud to be of his descendancy. These are called drops on the side of the headband. These are decorative. The headband obviously kept the hair out of the eyes. This piece in the front, on the forehead, right close to the mind, the center of consciousness, the center of the eye. This represented the symbol that most personified your spirit. Ours was the morning sky or the morning star. The morning sun. That was the power, that was the beginning, that was, for my family, the most positive symbol that we had. We look forward to a new day, we work for a new day, we are the new day. These drops, when we're at powwows, we would go out and you'll see some of the dance, you get into spinning, and when you spin quickly, these drops fly out. And these drops are deliberately designed to match the width of the outfit you are wearing. Hold on a second. Hold this a second. These are 2 bustles, some headgear and regalia. There's approximately 20 pounds here. I'm going to put them on in a little while. These bustles are worn on the back. And when you spin around, you take up a lot of space. So these drops spin out, and they tell you where your bustles are. You have no idea how many times we've been competing, and you spin, and if you're not paying attention, you collide with another dancer, and you are bustle locked. Can't move. So these drops are functional. This is the basic outfit for dance. Give me an intertribal. I want to show you some basic steps. I'm setting up shamanism here. As Erica's getting ready, when I get dressed, start with the moccasins, put on the leggings, put on the bells, the skirt, the vest, the belt. By the way, the belt, the drops, the arm covers, the moccasins, all of the beadwork tells the morning sky story. But as you build and put on your regalia, you are talking to grandfather. Give me the strength. Let me hear what you told me. Remember the words and abide by your traditions. The ancient civilizations have endured thousands of years. How dare an infantile 200-year-old government pretend to know how we're going to make it into the next world? Exactly. If the ancient ones could last for thousands of years, I'm going to listen to Gore, Bush, Clinton. Does that make sense? So, the key to the future lies in the past. The traditions of the ancient ones allowed them to survive the invaders, the civilizers, the tamers and destroyers of fire. In the oldest continents on this planet, the native Africans survived because of tradition, not because of the newcomers and the invaders. In fact, when the newcomers and the invaders came in, they borrowed our stuff. Hancock, Franklin, the framers of the American Constitution, looked at Powhatan, the 7 civilized nations, and borrowed from the way Indians did things. The Egyptians borrowed from the way the native Africans did things. And the Europeans borrowed from those barbaric savages. Native Americans who have abided by and honored the ancient traditions are alive and well and dancing today. The ones who have adapted to the way of the invader are going to get a gold watch after 20 years working in civil service. Not to say there's not value there. I'm going to give up dancing so I can go work in a post office for 20 years and get a gold watch and then the word is a pat on the back, you did good, son. How much time have we got? A couple minutes, right? 8-2. Okay. I had to learn English as my third language, my third tongue. I grew up with Hopi and Apache. I had to learn Spanish because Spanish was the one language that all the tribes in Arizona, they spoke. The Hopi had their own tongue, but because of the influence of the Spanish conquistadores, we would speak Spanish with another tribe and they understood. Because everybody had to listen to the conquistadores. And a lot of people say, wow, aren't you mad because, you know, the Spanish conquerors, they came through and you... No, listen. Read the books again. When, you know, Coronado came searching for the 7 cities of Cibola, the 7 cities of gold, what happened? No, look, read it. What happened? He'd ride in with his soldiers. Oye, ¿dónde está la ciudad del oro? Where is the city of gold? And the Indian, he's looking up at him and his horse, checking him out. Over there.
All right, vámonos, let's go. He galloped on to the next village. Oye, mira, ¿dónde está la ciudad del oro? And the Indians check him out, look him up and down. Over there. He got all the way up into Colorado before he got the joke. So, when you read about Indians, keep this in mind, please, particularly the Apache. You're listening to stories about my grandfather, who shimmied up telephone poles and cut wires. You're listening to stories about my people. I went into public school. I was adopted. My real father died right after I was born. I was adopted by a man who married my mom, and he was going to civilize me. So he sent me to public school, and I was put in a special school to learn English. Are there any English teachers here? Professors, anybody who specializes in English? Because if you are, I have to thank you, because if it were not for you and your efforts, I wouldn't be here. The English has allowed, learning English has allowed me to learn, actually, quite a bit. But I can tell you something, English is the stupidest language on the face of the earth. I went to first grade, and my teacher says, okay, you gotta learn English, Robert. Mrs. Archambault. And she said, okay, here's the letter A, and what sound does it make? It makes A or got it. I learned the alphabet. Now follow me. I'm going to condense this very quickly, but you correct me if I make a mistake, all right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, and then the stupidest letter in the dumbest language on the face of the earth. Down, point, up, point, down, point, up. What's that letter? Double U. Teacher, that's not W, that's double V. No, Robert, you don't understand. That's something about the English language you're going to have to accept. And she says, what sound do you think it makes, Robert? I said, well, if it's like double U, then it's either ooh or She said, no. Well, then if it's the sound that it looks, it's vuv. She said, no. I said, it's not ooh, or vuv. She said, no. And I said, what? She said, yeah. I said, huh? She said, no. I said, what? She said, yeah. What? That letter makes a wah sound. Okay, all right. Don't make sense. I'll accept it. X, Y, Z. Now she's going to teach me how to count. First, counting number in the English language, O-N-E. Robert raises his hands. Own, teacher. I snagged this one, man. I got this one flat, man. I nailed this sucker. Own. She goes, no. What? Well, kind of, she said. O-N-E sounds one. I said, one? There's no wa in one. This is a stupid number. She said, no, Robert, that's just something you're going to have to accept. O-N-E is one. Not own, one. I said, all right. Next number. T-W-O. I got this one. You ain't sneaking this sucker by me. To-woo. No. It's two. Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold on a second here. I don't see wa in one. I pronounce it. I see the wa in two. I don't pronounce it. This is a stupid language. No, Robert, you don't understand. That's just something you're going to have to accept. Let's tell you what, teachers. Let's leave numbers, let's leave letters. Let's just go learn some real simple words. You know, the words that describe the place of the event, the time of the event, the reasons for the event, the people in the event, who, what, when, where, and why. Now you pick any one of those words. The person in the event. It's spelled W-H-O. Wahoo. No. Enunciation. Who. Who. What. When. Where. And why. Ah, God. Help me with this one, Granddad. Teacher, Ms. Archambault, you are so cool, but this is like, you know, I'm in the first grade. Look. Wa is not double U, it's really double V. It's not ooh, or vav, it's what. You don't see it in the one, you pronounce it. You see it in the two, you don't pronounce it. This is the stupidest letter in the stupidest language on the face of the earth. I want nothing to do with it. The teacher said, no, Robert, you don't understand. It's such a beautiful language. You can communicate with it. You can sing with it. You can write poetry with it. You are so wrong. I said, how do you spell that? So they put me in a special class. Phonics. So that you can learn to read, write, and spell by the sound that letters make. Phonics does not begin with an F. Then I grew up, and I went into the civilized world. You go shopping in the grocery store. Sour cream has an expiration date. Why? Go home, see if you got one of these. An iron, remember those old things, iron with the ironing board, you iron your pants and you take out all the creases and that? Do you know that every iron on the market, go check Walmart and Target and all these stores, do you know that every new iron has a permanent press setting? I spent hours finding just the right gift. I found just the right box, like they told me. I found the right little, packing material, those little foam peanuts. I got the paper, I got that extra special packing tape. I spent a lot of time, I read that little pamphlet they give you, how to pack this very special gift to send it cross country. And I packed that sucker, did everything I'm supposed to do, spent a lot of time and effort on it, took it to the guy behind the desk. He says, you want to insure it? Do I want to insure it? Who's taking this package? That's the guy in the brown suit driving the brown truck. And I looked at the truck, I said, yeah, I'm going to insure it. Why? It says, oops on the side. I want double indemnity on this sucker. One last one here. Go to the grocery store, and you walk up to them doors, and I say this with all respect, I just haven't figured out the civilized world yet. And you go up there and you see the sign, and it says, Seeing Eye Dogs Allowed. Who's that sign for? You get it? It's like somebody thought this up and said, this is a good idea. And a bunch of civilized people who really believe they're going to make a difference and we're going to help these people who are handicapped and they got the dog in it, and they put a sign up there And I don't get it. All right, I gotta take a break here. I gotta get dressed. I'm gonna do the dancing, but I have some family members here. Will you allow me an extra approximately 10 minutes? Because I've got to tell you the story, and I mean no offense by the terms I'm going to use. I want you to understand that in Native America, if you do not abide by the traditions, the ceremony, the rituals, and the dances, if you don't contribute to society, if you do not give when you receive, then you are not Native American. You are a man or a woman who is blank, who has no fire, and the term for emptiness or void, when nothing is there, is not black. In the Hopi world, it's white. It means there's no color there. There's no nothing in there, right? So I mean no offense when I use the term white man. What I mean is there's nothing in there. Now, some of you I know are going to equate that. I didn't say that. I'm saying in the Hopi world, it means there's no fire there. I'm going to give you 10 minutes, but very quick, I'm sorry. I came off the reservation. I was living with my granddad, and one day when I was 5, my stepdad showed up, and he claimed me. He stood me up on the table. He cut off all my hair. He announced to all the Indians in earshot, I'm going to turn this into a nice, white, civilized boy. So he claimed me, took me in, he did all the paperwork, he brought me to a community in a town called Tucson in Arizona, and he happened to move into the community where at the time there was a Pasqua Indian village on the other side of the main road. On this side of the main road there was an Oriental gentleman who had a grocery and liquor store. He also used this store to provide income to bring his relatives over, and he built a trailer park. So on one side of the street was a Pasqua Indian village. On the other side of the street is an Oriental, I assume the gentleman was Chinese, and all of his relatives. And on the other side, on the back lots, there was a middle-low income community where there were blacks, Mexicans, Native Americans, minority groups of all kinds. And my stepdad brought me into this community. So, the minute I get there, I have to tell you, my grandfather was extremely prejudiced. I don't know why, but he would not permit me to meet Caucasian people. He would refer to them as white devils and demons. He had all these stories. You know how sometimes you hear these stories about how kids grow up, grandparents say, oh, you know, them savages, they rode down on our homesteads and they stole the women away and they killed the men and they stole the children, they burned down all the possessions. Well, I grew up with the stories about what the settlers and the Caucasian cavalry did to us. They ride down on our villages, they steal our women, they kill our men, they take our children, they burn down our villages. So I grew up, I was scared. So my granddad isolated us as best as we could. I'm sure it was a coincidence, but up to the age of 5, I never left his ranch or the reservation. I never met a Caucasian. So I went into this community at the age of 5, and I'm scared. Man, I am scared because I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going into the civilized world, Wasichu. I'm going to go live with Wasichu. These are Caucasian civilized people. Wasichu, oh man. So, I get out of the car, look around the neighborhood. Wow, there's blood everywhere, man. There's dark skin, man. There's middle tones. There's some Oriental kids there. It's like, wow, this is cool, man. There wasn't a Wasichu in the group. Not one. I think I can handle this. Now, what was interesting in this neighborhood was that everybody spoke Spanish. The Indians spoke Spanish, the Mexicans, the blacks, the Orientals, everybody spoke Spanish. My mom, my real mom, who adopted me with my stepdad, had a real problem with that. She couldn't handle it. The little Oriental kid would come over, you know, and he wanted to play, oye, señora, está aquí el Roberto, porque queremos ir allá a las tiendas, and she freaked out over it. So she pretty much would just let me go anywhere. So in this neighborhood, I got to tell you, I'm running out of time, I know. Jesse and Manny, 2 brothers. These gentlemen were half African, half Mexican, and the other half, I don't know. And these guys were huge. And this was back in the 50s. And you remember in the 50s, well, probably most of you don't, but in the 50s, the guys used to wear t-shirts, right? They'd roll them up on top, and they'd put their cigarettes, remember here on the sleeve? Right? And they were cool, man. JDs, juvenile delinquents. They were bad, right? Jesse was 15 years old. Manny was 16. These guys were huge. Now remember, I'm 5. And I have to tell you, for most Native Americans, particularly Apache, I'm a little on the short side. So I was like, that big. I see Jesse and Manny. Wow, these guys are huge. Jesse's 15, Manny's 16. Jesse's in the 3rd grade, Manny's in the 4th grade. This is before they had the rules, you know, where there's like age limitations. So Jesse's 15, Manny's 16. They were going to have a 4th grade dance, so Manny drove. I meet Jesse and Manny at school. They're my neighborhood, man. Now these guys adopt me right away because I'm like full-blood Indian, man. We got us a little Apache here, you know? And so they'd send me out to do stuff, and because I was little, I could get away with it, you know? I could climb trees in the public school grounds where you weren't supposed to, but I could get up and down because I was so little. I could, you know, fit my hands in little cracks and grab the little branches. And so, you know, hey, I got adopted. I'm part of Jesse and Manny's gang, man. And it was cool because Jesse and Manny were so tough. God himself is afraid of Jesse. Now, Jesse and Manny had invented this game, machismo. Es macho, honor. And here's the game. We would go down to Nogales, in Mexico, and get these firecrackers, these long red things with all the little like stars and stuff on them, with these long fuses. And the object of the game is to light the fuse, put the firecracker in the palm of your hand with the fuse hanging out. Now, when that fuse reaches the body of the firecracker, it explodes. Boom! Sparks go flying out of the top and the bottom of your hand. It's like this little mini volcano, right? But Jesse and Manny said, you know what? If you keep your hand closed, it doesn't hurt. In retrospect, I can understand the principle. If you have an opening at the top and the bottom, the force is shot up and downward, so there wouldn't be much pain. Yeah, right. But if your hand flies open, it's like trying to stop a truck on the freeway. It spins you all the way around. But anyway, here's the game, right? Now, I'm 5, and we're in this alleyway, and the guys took a garbage can. They turned it upside down. They emptied out all their pockets. They take the firecrackers out. Manny is the kind of guy that had a cigarette right here on his lip. Never bit it, never clenched it. He could talk. That cigarette never fell off. You ever seen those guys? It's always there. Always there. So he took a cigarette, he lit it, he put it on the side of the garbage can. Jesse walk up, take a firecracker, light that sucker, stand there, boom! Sparks, flames shot out the top and the bottom of his hand. He never flinched. Jesse could have performed heart surgery with his right hand as the firecracker explodes in his left. He was so cool, he was so tough. Manny was so cool, he could do 2 firecrackers twist together. Boom! Sparks and flames. Well, the rest of the kids in the gang, they're all trying, blowing their hands up, all black, crying, oh no, it doesn't hurt, no. And we're playing this game, I'm 5, I'm watching. I'm young, I'm not stupid. So I'm watching this game, and here comes the first time I'd ever seen one in my life. A young, Caucasian, a little white boy come walking up the alley. And I'm standing there. What the hell? Can I say that? What the heck is that? Ain't no blood in that kid. There ain't no color. He's walking like a zombie. That's how he walked. He walks up there like that. What I didn't know, what the whole gang didn't know, was on that day there was a woman who had divorced. She had, slightly an income problem, so she moved in the neighborhood, and she had 2 youngsters, Ernest and Warren. Now this is Ernest. He was out in his backyard in the neighborhood, and he hears pop, pop, bang, 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 boom. He looks down the alley, he sees a bunch of kids over there, smoke, you know, fire, and he says, hey, this is really cool. I'm going to introduce myself, go and play with the new kids in the neighborhood. And was walking down. I'm sitting there like, what is that? And I go stand behind Jesse, right? And I'm tugging like at Jesse's sleeve, you know, and he looks down and he turns around, and here comes Ernest. He's walking up to the guys. And Jesse turns around. Now, Jesse frightens God. I'm sure Jesse has corrected him on a couple of mistakes that he's made several times. Jesse turns around to Ernest, and he says to him in very firm tones, get out of here, straight and beat it. Go away. But he says it in Spanish. Ernest doesn't know Spanish. Ernest keeps walking forward. Now I gotta tell you, God's afraid of Jesse. Jesse warned this kid off, and he's still coming. Either this is the bravest, the most courageous young man in the planet, or the stupidest. So, I'm sitting here, we're all sitting, all the gang's now looking at Jesse. Ooh, you warned him off, man, nothing happened. And Jesse, come on, get out of here, stand, beat it. Ernest, he didn't understand Spanish. He walks right up, stands there. Hey, what you guys doing? Jesse, you know, really good maneuver, I thought, even at 5, even now, God, how brilliant this was. Didn't say a word. Just calmly walked over, took a firecracker, lit it, put it in the palm of his hand, and stuck that firecracker, boom, right under Ernest's nose. Ernest never seen the game, so he kind of steps back a little bit, right? Watching as his firecracker fused, finally reaches the body, boom! Sparks and flames are shooting out of Jesse's hand. And Jesse stands there. Smoke is billowing out of his hand. Bits of paper on the top of his thumb. And he stands there just so cool. And again, whoa. Wow, that's cool, man. So now we all turn to Ernest. Now, what's he going to do? This is the challenge, in my mind, of the gods. What can he possibly do to prevent himself from getting an ass whooping? Can I say that? Before getting a slight talking to. True story, I swear to you. Ernest walks over to the garbage can. And he bends over, and he picks up one firecracker. All the guys in the gang, oh God, that's it, game's over. You gotta do 2 to stay with Jesse. 1, no good, game's over, this guy's gonna get his butt kicked. But he surprised us. Because as he bent over and got the firecracker, he took a cigarette, lit the fuse, and as he is straightening up, he takes that firecracker and he inserts it in his left nostril. Now, my first white kid in the world just stuck a lit firecracker in his left nostril. And have you ever like been in an accident and you know like just before you hit, you know how everything like goes whoa, and it's in slow motion, and like there's nothing you can do, all you do is just watch it in slow motion. Ernest is straightening up with a firecracker in his nostril. I watched that little fuse go, and I don't know if I really wanted it to get to the end of that firecracker. It's like, I don't know if I want to see this, but it didn't matter, because in a split second, boom, the firecracker explodes. Ernest's left nostril expands like a balloon. Flames and fire are shooting out of his nose. Bits of paper flying to the ground. It stands him straight up, stiff as a board. And he's standing there. The neighborhood is echoing from the firecracker. And I am looking at the first white kid I ever met. And he just blew up his left nostril. He's standing there stiff as a board, bits of paper on his cheek, black, smoke coming out, and he's stiff, and he said something, I don't feel so good, and he turned around, and he just kind of started to waddle down the alleyway, leaving a trail of smoke. I'm looking. What happened? I turned to Jesse. Jesse is sitting there. His eyes are like this big. I look at Manny, and this was the clue. Something universally dramatic, significant just happened because his cigarette fell off. Man, I ran down the alleyway, hopped a couple of fences, ran into the front door. My granddad was there at home. I ran up, I'm pulling on his granddad, a white kid in a firecracker in his left nostril, and he blew up the fire and the flames and the smoke, and I'm trying to tell him this story. I'm like, oh, God, you know, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you, Granddad? And he settled me down. Mijo, I understand. There's something you need to know, Mijo. As you grow up, you're going to meet more Wasichu. I want to tell you something. They're all crazy. Because you see, Mijo, every single one of them had to go through this puberty ritual in which they stick a lit firecracker in their left nostril. When I went to public school, later, just a few months later, and I went out on the playground, I looked, and you watch, you look. On every Wasichu, you'll find a little scar over his left nostril. Where, no, this is ritual, man. Like, I'm not going to mess with some society's, you know, manhood and, you know, rites of passion. I'm not going to do that. But my grandfather says, Mijo, be careful. Because there are some Wasichu young men that it doesn't take on the first try. Be careful of the Wasichu you meet who has 2 scars, one over each nostril. Because they had to do it twice in order to become Wasichu. Granddad, do I really have to meet him? Oh, yes, Mijo. You're going to see them very often. You're going to run into them in the Bureau of Indian Affairs. By the way, Bureau is spelled B-U-R-R-O. And so when I went to public school, I had problems with what? I had problems with counting, but I knew why Wasichu was crazy. Because of a puberty ritual that they all went through. So when you go out, please be careful. But take this tip from me. When you go see the civil servants, when you go see those guys behind the counter, and you got to deal with them, look for the scar. Have a little bit of sympathy. And be thankful that we're savages and we're primitives. I'm going to take a quick break, 10 minutes. I'm going to get dressed. We're going to do some dancing, war dancing, spirit dancing. Grandfathers who are here, I hope that you enjoyed the few moments that we had to talk. Shamanism is not what you have been told. Native Americans, shamanism is something entirely different. So, we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Kevin and Juanica and all of you, the additional speakers who are here, thank you very much. We'll see you in about 10 minutes. Take a break. Thank you. Are we on? Thank you for the brief break. Ginete Kenil. No. Ginete Kenil. Lo de peso. Ginete Kenil. The outfit that I'm wearing
is known as the fancy dance, spirit dance, in circles where they don't mind the terminology. This is also known as a war dance outfit. Weighs approximately 35 pounds. Am I on? Can you see him? The outfit is traditional. The only item that may not be completely traditional is the gold fringe, which I added to the back of these bustles. I am spirit. I am Kwahu. I am a warrior. A moment ago, we came into the dance area basically to make sure that the area was clear, that we would have no difficulties or minimal difficulties in dancing for the ancient ones. Miguel stands tall, para alta. I'm going to bring him on. This is Miguel. And he is wearing a traditional dancer's outfit. In its most basic form, it does not have the bustles. It does not have the regalia of the fancy dance. However, all dancers aspire to achieve this status. Less is more. He wears on the top of his head what is known as a roach. All right, dude. No. The roach is made out of porcupine guard hair. The porcupine has small hairs in between the quills that essentially protect it from its own quills, from its own pointy ends. Underneath the guard hair is white fur, and it comes literally from the belly of a deer. The two feathers that he wears on his headdress are eagle feathers. They are traditional. According to federal law, only Native Americans can possess them. If you have one, technically you are in violation of the law. You are subject to a $5,000 fine and/or now 2 years in jail. The eagle feather is protected, but then so is the parakeet. There is a parakeet that has made it to the endangered species list. But technically, when the bill was written, it didn't specify which parakeet. So if you have a parakeet feather in any way, shape, or form, federal law says you're a criminal. You're subject to a federal fine and incarceration. Miguel is wearing the drops, and the design on them represents stands tall, the turtle upon whom the earth was placed. The turtle, in many cosmologies of Native American, is the foundation stone of our existence on this planet. He carries a medicine staff. In his left hand, you'll see the staff that in fact has a deer claw at the end, at the very bottom. It is decorated in fringe, and it too has eagle feathers, owl feathers. In his right hand, he holds a fan. It is, in fact, a way in which a dancer waves away his song. He waves away his spirit. He waves away his dance. And to be bluntly honest, the sucker works when it's hot. On the tips of the feathers are what are known as breath feathers or fluffs. They give the feather direction. It is the feather that gives flight to your spirit. You attach a feather to a horse's tail, your horse will fly. It is the feather that gives wing to your song, to your dance, and to your existence. The feather is our main vehicle of communication with the powers that be, with our ancestors. If you'll start the music, I want to talk you through a few here. We're going to break the rules. We're actually going to tell you kind of what's going on here.
powwow rules, ceremonial rules, ritual rules. They say one drum beat, one footstep. Now, this song is known as the Plains Buffalo. The first step, the first thing that a dancer must do is to get the beat. So he starts very slowly when he enters the circle. And he begins to basically walk to the beat, catch the rhythm. Very slow, very deliberate. Every song has 4 choruses, 4 refrains. We call them push-ups. As the spirit begins to invade his dance, as it takes possession of his body, he begins to make more moves. A little more spirited, a little more fire. The fan held behind him on his hip is basically a challenge to other male dancers. I am fire. I am honor. I am courage and bravery. That fan kept on his hip is a sign to other male warriors that he is proud of who he is and what his accomplishments are. But then, partway through the dance, if it's a social dance, he notices a woman in the audience. But you see, Native American in the old days, you could not approach a woman. You had to get her attention. You had to make moves on the dance floor that made her get up and ask you to go out for a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Miguel says, Robert, check out the dame in the first row. And then it's Chewy. Give him a little more volume. Let's see if Chewy gets the attention in a minute. Now, that dance is actually known as the old man's Plains Buffalo. And I'm going to ask you to do something here in a minute. Sir, Holtz, would you replace that feather where you found it? Thank you. Let me tell you something. When you go to a powwow, you go to a ceremony, and a dancer drops the feather, don't touch it. And I'll explain why in a moment, okay? Don't touch it. There's something funky about feathers Indians feel. It's just this Indian thing. But there's no offense here, it really isn't. But it brings up a good point. Now, the style that he just used is something that's known as the old man style. That's the style that our 90-year-old dancers use. That's the style the 80-year-olds use. They get out there and they crank. They go, watch this, dude. Well, us younger guys, I'm not quite younger. Well, no, I guess, yeah, I'm older. We have to do something different. And here's something really cool. But let me show you some Indian magic in the process. Would you like to see some real Indian magic? Watch this. Ladies, turn and look at the man sitting next to you. Look at the closest guy. Look around you, take a look at him. Now see how they're all sitting like, that's cool stuff, isn't it? That stuff's like, pretty cool. Digging feathers. Now watch this. Yo soy Hopitu. Gineto que ne soy no. In the Hopi world, life revolves around the female. The center of the village, the center of the world, the center of the universe is the woman. In our homes, the person who makes the decisions is the woman. In our villages, in our world, in our lives, it It is the woman who makes the difference and brings fire, creativity, passion, and all those positive things to we warriors. In my world, in the Hopi world in the old days, a man could not court a woman. He could not go out and ask her for a cup of coffee. He could not go and ask her to take a walk in the moonlight. He had to wait for her to ask him. And so he attends a powwow. He learns to dance. He learns to make the moves because humankind is a part of Mother Nature. And in nature, who wears the bright colors in the bird family, the male or the female? The male, because he has to prove himself to the female. Who does the whistling and the singing? Who has the big mane? Who is the one that has to court the female to prove his worth? The male. And we humans are part of Mother Nature. And so in Native America in the old days, in the old ways, men have to put on makeup. We had to braid our hair. We have to go out and get regalia. We have to show that we have beauty, grace, style, strength, endurance. And so we go to a dance. A dancer does not compete with other dancers. He competes with the drum. But if he sees a woman in the audience, what he says to her is, I can make my heart one with the drum. I can make my footstep one with the drum beat. If I can make myself one with the drum, I can make myself one with your heart. I can keep up with you. I will listen to your drum beat. And so we go to powwows. And we have to make some simple and basic moves. This one is known as the Plains Buffalo young man's version, essentially what Stan's Tall did, but it's for a young man. Gentlemen, in Native America, it is the woman who we must prove ourselves to. We must take the first step to show our fire, our strength, and who we are. We must prove ourselves. What does a woman have to do? Sit back and enjoy. This is the Plains Buffalo, young man's version. As a teenager, as a young man, if you wanted a woman to notice you, this is the dance you would have to do. Ladies, gentlemen, especially gentlemen, if you were Native American, this is the dance that you would have to do as a young man. Okay. Did you like it? Wasn't that quick? Now, we are the buffalo. Shake off the dust. See how easy that was, guys? Now, watch the magic. Turn and look at the guy sitting next to you. Is he 2 inches taller in his seat? Because his butt cheeks are going, oh, God. Oh. I got to do this? Uh-huh. And you got to put 35 pounds on your back. And you got to dance. And you got to have fire. But tell you something, you haven't figured it out. Women's is tough. have you done for me lately? We go to a powwow, and in social powwows, competition powwows, I have been required to dance 30 hours over a 3-day period. You have to. Now, it's okay in the sense that there's only 12 hours of dancing every day. So you only got to do 10 each day. And you got to go out there, strut, dance, make your moves. And if she's in the audience, every once in a while, you make that move. Like a peacock? Absolutely. There's a babe out there, make that move. But most importantly, gentlemen, you must keep the beat. You have no idea how important that is to women. You must keep the beat. Ladies, a Native American secret. They don't often talk about it, but here's something women know. If a man can't dance, then he can't dance. All right. Shotguns over here. Give me them damn muscles there, bud. I'll show you dancing. All right, let's pick up the pace a little bit. Have we got Bob's Fancy in there? Years ago, back when I was young, 42, I entered a nationals competition. We have them. Occasionally we will have gatherings from around the country. Dancers come and compete. And I was 42. Next youngest dancer in the fancy category was 25. Why they called me the old man of the circuit, I'll never know. But I competed with these guys, 19 and 20 years old. We were required to dance 36 hours over 4 days in this outfit. I lost 22 pounds in 4 days. But I placed 7th in the nation. Not bad for an old Bart. So they honored me by giving me this song. This is called Bob's Fancy. And if you had done the Plains Buffalo, if you had gotten the attention of a woman, and you wanted to show her more, yeah, you know, I can dance. I got some moves. I got some style. Got some grace. She's going to want to know, but can you dance? So, fancy dance, spirit dance. You do this one, gentlemen, a woman will take you home. At social powwows, a woman did not have to go home with the man that she came with. If she found one who was a better dancer, if she found one that had more fire, she was entirely within her rights to go home with him. A man must prove himself 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 60 minutes every hour, to show that he is the fire, the passion, the romance, everything that she could ever want. And should he fail, he is supportive of her going with someone else. Now, I've gone to conferences and gatherings, and it's amusing to me how often the guy turns around and looks at his woman and says, yeah, go ahead. Anyway, not here. Bob's Fancy, for young men only, dedicated to the ladies in this audience, that there are men in this world who dance for you no matter who you are, no matter what you do. All right, Bob's Fancy. Gentlemen, you're going to have to do this one if you ever want a fiery, passionate woman in your life. Classes begin at 11 p.m. after the workshop. was the slow version. There is a faster one. Excuse me, there's a hole here. Okay. There is another dance called the Oklahoma Squat, a fast dance. If I do that one now, it's gonna rain here tomorrow. Yeah, do it, Indian. Time permitting, yes. 35 pounds, full regalia, war paint, beadwork. What's real easy is going down. What's tough is coming back up. Want to hear something gross? Nothing happened, huh? Excellent. All right. What is shamanism? What is it? Anybody know? Practice of magic? The changing of shape? The healing of ailments? The laying on of hands? I'm sorry? Keeper of the old ways. I want to show you something interesting. I'm sorry, could you give me that folder? Long time ago, first grade, had a problem, it's right here on the table. Had a problem, right here, with what they were telling me. And when a white man, when a teacher came to me and said, "This is the way it is, Robert," I had a problem with that. Oh, we're going to switch here. Hold on a second. My granddad told me there would come a day. Are you married? Can you dance? Let's check it.
That's not for the house, that's for the tape. I do believe.
Is this on?
That's for the tape.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear it? Oh, that's for you. You come here, you put your hands on my, and then it's just for you? You better take me out for a drink there, son. I'm sorry. Is this staying on here? Yeah. Not only am I happy to see you, but there's a microphone here too. Well, this there. That's better. I do not trust when someone says, "This is the way it is." I do not trust when someone says, "This is the way it has to be." Years ago, my granddad took me out to see a man who was a shaman. His name was Don Gennaro. Don Gennaro in Wasichu terms. You recognize the name? Don Gennaro was a shaman, a sorcerer, someone who taught the old ways. And I used to hear stories about this one young man who was as thick as a brick, who simply did not get what it meant to be a sorcerer. The first time I met Don Gennaro, he was sitting on a wall. He was not on top of the wall, he was sitting on the wall. How did you do that? How do you know I'm doing it? Maybe it's you. And so later in college, I read a book by Mr. Thick as a Brick. And I have some advice for you from a man who studied with the same teacher. And I really mean no disrespect, because I think he honestly believes what he wrote. But I would suggest to you that you cross out everything except what Don Gennaro and Don Juan say. Listen only to them. Do not accept the explanations offered by the author. Having said that, I will now tell you that if you read any of my books, do not accept any of my explanations. What I am about to share with you, don't accept it, challenge it, question it, challenge everybody, and put me at the top of the list. I want you to check out this stuff. And I also ask you to be fair, to be just, and to do the same thing with every other speaker you listen to, and with the greatest of respect for all of the other speakers here. I honestly believe they as well want you to check us out. Check us out. We work hard for the money, all 25 cents of it. This is a very lucrative career, isn't it? Oh, jeez. There are people that think, oh, you speakers, you make buku money. Well, you can't spend buku. We get no wampum, we get little wampum. And what it costs to travel and do research and go out in the field. My guys go out trekking in the Canyonlands. They go to Egypt, they go to Mexico, Australia, Teotihuacan. There is no profit here. However, the term shaman, sometimes pronounced shaman, there is an argument as to which one is correct. I will not dispute either. Either. In the Hopi and the Apache world, shaman is the accepted word. Do you know where that word came from? Most people don't. A practicing shaman or shamaness should. The word shaman comes from Siberia. They referred to their otherworld travelers, their magicians and sorcerers, as shramana or shaman. It is a specifically Siberian word. The only group of people other than Mongolian shamans who have a right to use that word are full-blood Native Americans. Clearly, the study of genetics, population movement, all kinds of scientists show that Native Americans are descended to some degree from Mongolian Siberians. That I have no dispute with. Far too many scientists, far too many findings. We have Siberian Mongolian ancestry. I got Huns for ancestors. Mongols, barbarians. Don't you love it? I do. Horse-riding, head-bonking, butt-kicking Mongols. The practice of shamanism is the practice of sorcery as given to us by Siberian Mongols. Example. Excuse the notes, I brought just a few. The Malay Peninsula, a medicine man from the Shaman tribe would be known as Hala or Halak. Had we been studying Malay Peninsula magic, we would be halakism, we would be halaks. If we were from the Batak Pygmy tribe of the Malay Peninsula, Balian is their magician. Instead of studying shamanism, we would be studying Balaniism. Let's see, there's 20 here. Medicine man in Malaysia, Mane Kishu. We would be studying Mane Kishuism. Tohunga, medicine man of Polynesia. If we were studying their magic, it would be Tohunganism. Pimoism, medicine man of the Lilo tribe of southern Yemen in China. Shen, a medicine man in ancient China. If we were studying their magic, it would be Shenism. A medicine woman in ancient China was a Wu. If we were to study the magic arts of women from ancient China, we would be studying Wuism. What is my point? This. We are using terms, and we generic fashion, and it's wrong. If you are actually a practitioner of shamanism, you are practicing Siberian magic. If you practice anything else, it is not shamanism. So, when you hear a shaman or a shamaness, I can do this. If he ain't doing it the Siberian way, if she ain't doing it the Siberian way, they're wrong. They're not shamans. They are betraying you. Walk away. In fact, next time you meet a shaman or a shamaness, ask them, what does shaman mean? So the question that has to arise is, how did we end up using the term shamanism for all magicians and sorcerers? Why do we do that? So, Renegade starts asking some shamans. I met I shouldn't say I met, but I encountered a palm reader today in the underground, Atlanta underground thing. My family wanted to put up the funds so that I would sit down. They wanted to see what she would say. We'll go back tomorrow. Because if she can tell me about me, I'll become a believer. But why do we use the word shamanism? Why do we use shamanism instead of Wuism or halakism or one of the other isms? Because of one man and his family. One man single-handedly gave us the practice of shamanism. It was he and his son and his grandson that gave us sorcery and shamanism in its purest state. And you know who he was? A Siberian barbaric king who, when he was in his most powerful position, when he had achieved his greatest accomplishment, he literally governed, owned, or manipulated the affairs of nearly 2/3 of Eurasia. His was the single greatest empire, save possibly the British in later times, but in the ancient world, none compared. Alexander the Great? No. Caesar? No. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, the Siberian Mongol, spread the practice of shamanism because, in fact, he was a shaman. Because in India, Mesopotamia, and even in Europe, they became afraid, they feared the very name Khan, because he was the most powerful magician and sorcerer the world had ever seen to that time. When he died, there was a short break in the lineage on the throne, but eventually his grandson, Kublai Khan, rose to the throne,
and expanded the empire even further. What is shamanism? Healing? No. The ancient ways? Yes. A shaman. In ancient Siberia, a shaman was picked by the ancestors. He woke up one day, and he knew, and his family knew, because he walked different. She talked differently. The ancestors had visited, and invariably there was a mark, a physical, visible mark that had not been there the day before. A shaman then had to learn shamanic ways. Oftentimes, an existing shaman would take the young woman out into the field and would begin to show her the secrets. Sometimes, the ancestors themselves came in and took possession of the young man. They took him into the mountains, out into the forest, the desert, wherever he could be isolated, and he learned. But always, always, there was a physical mark, and the person changed. When the shaman or shamaness practiced their magic, did they heal? No. They were not healers. By definition, ladies and gentlemen, if you heal people, you are not a shaman. Yes, you are a healer. I will not take away from your ability. But that is not the definition of a shaman. Here's what a shaman does. A shaman gets dressed in regalia. A shaman takes up the drum, a feather, puts on the bells, and the shaman oftentimes began to dance to the point of exhaustion. At some point or another, the shaman became perfectly still. And at that point, the physical body would remain virtually motionless. In later tests with Siberian shamans, those Caucasian researchers poked him with pins, struck him with a rock, tried to do something to the physical body. There was no wound, there was no puncture, there was no bleeding, there were no after effects. The shaman or shamaness in the meantime, emerging from the frozen body, had but one task to accomplish. The shaman would make his way into the other world, the world that no one can see, the world that no one can hear. It's as if the village and the world stopped, and he could walk between them, and he could see the ancestors, and he could see the family that had departed, but he could see the demons. He could see the evil ones. And his task was to make his way through the shamanic world, to avoid the pitfalls and the traps, the demons waiting to seize his power, the evil ones who wanted to swallow his fire or to come back and assume the body of the shaman. The shaman's task to make his way through the spirit world was to find knowledge, wisdom, the ancient ways, and to grab them, to make them part of him, to make them a part of her, and to make his way back amidst all the dangers and come back to the real world. Having done that, he was obligated to go to the good people, to those who want to know, regardless of what they were taught to believe. And the shaman would say, this is the ways of the old one. This is the secret of the ancients. On occasion, there might have been a recipe for herbs, teas, lotions, a way of life. And it was brought back and given to the good ones, the ones who want to know, the ones who want to use the knowledge. That was a shaman's job, to get in, to get the knowledge, and to bring it out. I have met numerous, hundreds and hundreds of researchers, and I am plagued, I am pained by how oftentimes what becomes important is the show, the popularity. Aren't I cool? Wrong. A shaman is the seeker of knowledge, and there's only one way to know if a shaman or a shamaness is real. I have met hundreds. I have had letters, emails, faxes. I have had all kinds of people approach me. Robert, I am shaman, shamaness. And my first question is always, where does the word shaman come from? Not once has anyone ever answered me. Can you prove you're a shaman? Yes. In fact, in Siberia and in the old Native American ways, a shaman was not someone who did an out-of-body ethereal trip, saw something, came back and said, I have a message for you from the Pleiades. Don't you know? I am in contact with, don't you know? Wrong. A shaman, including Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, including Geronimo, Mangas Colorados, Manitou, always manifested something in the real world. If you cannot prove and show what you have found, if you cannot manifest in front of an audience, in front of a friend, you're not a shaman. Claims are made by the dozens every day in every conference I've ever been to. Not once have we delivered. Not once have any of we shamans, in quotation marks, made the point. So, for you who are here, a shaman is descended of the magicians of ancient Siberia. A true shaman is descended of the Apache and Diné ways of Native America. If you are a healer, congratulations, and I am very proud to know you, but that does not make you a shaman. If you can travel out of your body, congratulations, I am proud to know you, that is not a shamaness. So, what am I trying to say? Let's get real. Let's get down here, guys. It ain't the words. It's what you do. It ain't the claims. It's what you do. It's not, ain't I pretty? It's, do you dance? A warrior bases his ways on shamanism. We must accomplish. We must not just claim. Earlier, I heard another speaker's name mentioned, and I will deal with his topic in full tomorrow. I understand tomorrow we are at the Ramada Inn, somebody correct me, and we begin at noon. Are we in the ballroom, or where are we? I'm sorry? In the ballroom. And it begins at noon. Ramada Inn International, I don't know the address. I'm sure you can find out. And again, thank you very much to Kevin and all of you who are making this happen. Tomorrow I want to deal with this person because we're getting railroaded here, folks. We're getting a lot of stuff coming our way, and it ain't so. Can I take about 5 seconds here? I want to take off my regalia and that. I want to be able to move here because I'm going to get very excited and heated up. And I don't want to explode in a little puff of fire because my feathers went. 5 minutes, if you don't mind. I'm going to very quick get undressed to my bustles here, and then we'll resume. I want to talk about some very icky stuff in a few minutes. Oh, excuse me.
Come on,